Hello, everybody, ETH Denver and world. Thank you for being here at the ETH Denver Makerspace. I'm excited to tell you that I'm with Claudia Pollack, who's going to be leading a workshop about data binding for all. Paula is part of the Ephimera team, and this wonderful workshop is going to be about playing with your basic tools in your computer, keyboard, NotePad, to have an influence on photography and create glitch art. Is that right, Claudia?
Yes, that's right. We're turning our photography into glitch art today.
Very cool. Excellent. So Claudia, we have today a pre-recorded workshop. So you guys will be seeing that. But I think Claudia has a few things to share with you before we get started.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Jessica, for the intro, and thank you for having us on board. So my name is Claudia. I'm with Ephimera, and I'm super happy to be presenting this workshop today. Stick around until the very end. We have a very important announcement. We will be announcing the short list for our Ephimera contest. So yeah.
Great. So artists are waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started then.
Displaying this workshop for you and presenting it. So data bending for all. I'm very excited to be presenting this for you. We're basically going to be looking at how to turn your photography into glitch art. And it's super cool. I've done it a few times myself. And you can do this with images you've taken from your iPhone, your Android, for example. It doesn't have to be super high quality images. In fact, we're going to be sizing down the images if you have some in mind that are higher quality, because it's simpler to actually do this process if you have like a smaller file size. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So a little bit about me before we start off. So like I said, my name is Claudia Pollack. I'm based in Toronto, Ontario. I am Canadian. I've been photographing for about 10 years now, 5 years professionally, doing a lot of commercial photography stuff. My heart is definitely with analog photography. I absolutely love film photography. I love shooting with film. I love really old cameras. And on the right there, there's some images that I've actually just tokenized on the blockchain for the first time, because I'm new to crypto art. I'm very new to this space. It's very exciting for me. And you can see here on the right, there are my first 4 tokens that I've tokenized on Ephimera, which is really super exciting, like I said. Okay, so what is data bending? Let me just get into a little simple explanation here for you. So we're basically going to be looking at the manipulation of a media file, and that's all that data bending really is. So specifically for this workshop, we're going to be looking at data bending JPEGs and TIFF files. But data bending really is using software that's designed for something else, like audio or video editing, and using it to edit different types of media that you wouldn't edit in that software. For example, like text editor. You open up text editor, you often see, you can write text in it, or you often see code in there, depending on the file you've opened. So if you edit an image, like a JPEG in that text editor, you're going to get some pretty distorted results, which is the look we're going for here. That's the whole concept with glitch art, is you're basically opening up JPEGs and these TIFFs and these softwares that aren't designed for them. And the resulting distortions are what we know as glitch art. So you get some pretty cool effects here. So here's an example of that. So on the left here, that's an image I took on my 35mm point and shoot camera. It's my hand and some flowers. And we have kind of the first pass is what I like to call it. I dumped it into Audacity, which is an audio editing software, and did, I believe, a fade in and fade out. And I got kind of these red and these blue effects, and kind of these like blown out pixels is what it decided to do to the image. And it was interesting to me because it kind of looks like a light leak on film. And I wasn't completely happy with that result. So what I did was I opened that same image up again in Audacity, and this time did a bit more to it. So I think this one I did an echo effect, and it's interesting because you can actually kind of see that it took my pinky in this image and like duplicated it over. And I thought that was really neat. So I decided to stop there, and I decided to stop editing. So the reason why there's different versions is because when we're going to be data bending, it's really, really important that each edit you make, you like save right after and you do a little check and make sure everything is okay. You haven't gone too far, you haven't done too little, but also it's really vital that you don't break the file. So you might go a bit too far into the header and footer of the image, which is just that data that exists at the top and the bottom. So we won't touch those. And you can actually break the file and you'll know when you've broken it because you'll try to open it up and it'll say can't preview image. And so in order to avoid that, it's a good practice to just every time we go in and we make a few edits to just save each time. And it'll show you a bit of an organizational process to keep you sane during that process in a bit. So the software we'll be using today is NotePad or text editor, depending on if you're a Mac or PC user. They should be pre-installed into your computer already, which is awesome. I specifically will be using Notepad++, which is free to download, free to access. It's, in my opinion, it's a bit more stable than the Notepad on my computer. I've had better luck with Notepad++ in terms of avoiding breaking the file than I've had with Notepad. So I'll be using that today. We're going to be using Audacity as well, which is a free to download audio software. So that's going to be looking at our TIFF files, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And at the end, I'll even open up Adobe Photoshop and just show you how to save the images or even make them into GIFs. If you like the process from the beginning to the end, much like I had in the first slide, we can make it into a little bit of a GIF if you want. So preparing your files, before we start, it's really, really important that we start with a JPEG and a TIFF. So whichever images you decide to use, with the JPEG, make the longest edge 100 pixels long or wide. You can do this in Photoshop. You can do this in GIMP, whatever editing software you like to use. And that's because we want to start small. If you start really big, there's just a lot of data to go through. So for the purpose of this workshop, it's better just to start really tiny. If you want to go ahead and make really big images later, that's totally up to you. And for the TIFF, for Audacity, it's much better to, what a TIFF does rather is it saves a lot more information in that image. It's more uncompressed than a JPEG is. So for the purpose of editing with Audacity, it'll actually be better if we edit with a TIFF, but it's got to be a small TIFF. So the longest edge here, we'll do 100 pixels long or wide, depending on what your image is like. Make sure it's saved as inner channel when you're exporting that TIFF and non-compression, just so it keeps as much information in there as possible. All right, so this is the image I have brought into Photoshop. And we're going to be saving a JPEG and a TIFF. So this is actually right from a scan, and it's a TIFF already because I scanned it in high res. Oh, there's some dust there. I don't like that. But so we're going to start by adjusting our size. So we'll change it to pixels. And the height is our longest length here. So I'm going to do 1000. Just hit OK there. Awesome. So now it's a lot smaller. We're going to save as, we'll do JPEG. This is what I originally saved the file name as, but for the purpose of the workshop, I think we'll just do text editor 0. And I'm naming this one 0. And of course, if you wanted to do the original file name, underscore text editor underscore 0, that's also fine. I'm just keeping it short and sweet for myself. So we're doing 0 because this is going to be the original unaltered version of the image. So if we make a mistake or if there's an effect we don't like, we want to just start over. Making sure that we have a copy of the original is super important. You don't want to lose this, right? So we can always go back to this in the event that we do want to change it. All right, so we'll just do, yeah, I'm just going to check the file size here too. So it's 643 kilobytes. That's probably fine. Baseline standard. Good, so we've got that saved. Awesome. Now we're going to do the same thing Actually, there we go. Keep it at 1,000. So it's already sized. We can double check here again, but it's already sized at 1,000 pixels high. So we're going to save this one as a TIFF file. Where's my TIFF? There's my TIFF. And same thing, we're going to do text editor underscore TIFF. Save. So here, you want to make sure there's no image compression. So have that selected. And we want to make sure that pixel order is per channel. Once you have that selected, you're good to go. Cool. So now we should go back here. I don't need this one here anymore, so we can remove that. So I just have a folder here on my computer that I've saved just to keep track of everything. But I'm going to, just for organization, create a new one. We'll call this one text editor. I'm just going to be saving the different versions of this image into text editor. And then we'll do, oh, sorry. So this one actually should have been named Audacity TIFF. So the TIFF file we're using for Audacity when we open it up. So when you save your TIFF, again, it doesn't really matter. It's just a file naming organizational thing. But I'm just naming it Audacity just so we understand that we're editing the TIFF file with Audacity. So we'll do Audacity there. Move that into here. Great, cool. So we're going to go ahead and open the text editor one. We'll start with this one. Then I'm going to open up NotePad++. This is the text editor that I'm going to be using today. But of course, if you want to use text editor or Notepad, depending on if you have Windows or Mac, or maybe a different software, that's okay too. I just don't recommend using Microsoft Word. Sometimes that automates formatting and it's not great for what we want to use here, unless you want to try it out as an experiment later. But for the purpose of following along, let's avoid Word for now. Okay, so we're going to, I think I can just drag and drop this in here. Yeah, perfect, awesome. So this is all the data within that JPEG, and it's a lot. So remember when I was talking about how we want to keep these images as small as possible. This file size is under a megabyte, and we have so much information here. So we have a lot to play around with, but what we don't want to touch is the very top. So like information up here, I would say, and the very, very bottom. So this is the footer, and up here is the header. It's kind of hard to see where they start and stop in the text editor, but when you're making edits, just try not to go near too close to the top or too close to the bottom. It might break your image. Okay, so I'm just going to start impulsively, just going in here and just doing some copying. And I might insert that right here. So what I'm doing is I'm just copying and pasting some of this data, and I'm just randomly deciding where it goes. So we're basically just manipulating this code and deciding where we want it to go. And you could have your own pattern that you want to follow, or you could just do it randomly. I like doing it randomly. I like the results, and I like not really knowing what to expect is what fascinates me. You can also go in and delete some content. So boom, gone. There we go. Copy that. Maybe move it around here. Copy that. Maybe delete some here. And just keep going in and around. And this might take a while. This might take a short time, depending on what kind of file you're using, what kind of photograph you're manipulating. But I think I feel comfortable saving there. So now we're going to do save as, and we're in our text editor folder. So change that 0 to 1, because this is the first version of the Databending. And we're going to save this. See that save as type text file? We're going to save that as a JPEG once I find it. Save it as all types, and then make sure at the end there, the extension is .jpeg, and that should save it. Okay. And that's our result. Pretty cool, eh? It's interesting. I find with the text editors, the glitching is very linear. And it kind of follows the method we were using with the copying and pasting over and deleting information. And it's cool to see how some of these pixels are completely opaque with like gray and green. And then some of them look like they haven't even formed. Like there's just some distortion in some of these blocks here, which is really interesting. So if you're happy with that, you can just leave it, or we can take it a step further and see what else we can do to glitch it further. Okay, so we're going back to the same file. I haven't touched anything else, but you'll see here that we're editing now text editor 1 instead of 0, but that's okay because when we go to save it again, we'll call it number 2. So we're just keeping a history of all the edits we're making. So let's start at the bottom this time, but not too close to that footer I was talking about, and make our way up. So I'm just going to start deleting information first and seeing how that works there. Let's delete that. Maybe copy some of this, maybe even go back down and insert some of that. Maybe copy it over again and insert it back down here again. So we're really just trying to overlap the code. We're trying to delete some, make our own maybe. If any of you are programmers, I wonder if you could copy and paste a code from something else. And if you have a suspicion and think that it would work, maybe from another digital artwork, or that would be interesting to see what would happen there. Yeah, you just kind of play around with it and hope for the best. Okay, let's save as again. We'll do number 2. Change that to all files, all types rather, save. I can see already in the preview that that just glitched it out even more. All right. So it added a bit to the bottom this time. It's the same kind of pattern, and it's interesting that it kind of, there's something very specific going on here, and then it just seems to fade out over on the left side of the image there. All right, let's give it one more time in text editor, and let's really be aggressive on this and see what happens. So maybe I'll start at the top here and copy a lot. Go, I've copied that. Maybe let's paste it right in the middle. Boom. Maybe copy it again. Stop there, copy, scroll down a little bit and paste it. Maybe let's go a bit further. I'm gonna maybe stop there. We don't want to be too close to the bottom. Let's copy that. Let's go to the top and paste it. And let's delete a big section, maybe right in the center. Delete that. All right, let's try that. Number 3, all types. All right, here we go. Boom, there she is. So we have absolutely glitched this image apart. What has even happened here? I think we've completely almost eliminated a lot of the photographic data down here. And there's like some interesting like gradation happening. Like green to purple. I really like the look of that. Yeah, it looks like most of the edits have been happening down at the bottom there and not much at the top. But I think maybe let's do one more pass and let's focus on the top part and just see what happens there. And then I think I'll be happy with where this is. All right, but even in the preview, I mean, that looks awesome. Just that transition. This might make a really cool GIF. Okay, let's start at the top here. Now, I might try and purposefully break this just to show you what I mean. So let's go right at the top here. And if I just delete that, save as, let's do like 0, 0, 0. There we go. See, it's not even previewing at that point. You open that up. It appears we don't support this file format. So that's what happens if you touch too close to the header or too close to the footer. It just breaks it and you cannot recover it. So we'll go back, edit, undo. We just undid what we did there, and that can be deleted. There we go. We're going to say yes to that. That was just a warning that let me know that the file I just saved doesn't exist anymore, but we're going to be saving it as something else. So creating a new file, that's fine. All right, so we're just going to scroll down a little bit. Copy that, paste that. Let's go in and copy it again. Paste that. Again, copy, maybe come back up here a little bit, paste that down there. Keep copying it. I do like overlapping a lot of this code here. I think that does some really cool things. Copy that here, and maybe let's do a big delete. Okay. Save as number 4. Okay. I think I like where that's arrived at. See, it looks like I almost did that on purpose. The way it's kind of glitching around that yellow umbrella, it really pulls that specific umbrella out of the picture, which I think is super cool. So I think we'll leave it at that there. I mean, we can take a look at kind of see, and I hope you can see this, but when I preview the image, it tends to animate. And I think that's just how the preview is rendering the image, if that makes sense. I think it's when it's displaying it on the computer, I think it's the way it's reading the data there, it's glitching itself out in the preview, which is super strange. And there's no way to really save that. I mean, honestly, sometimes these are difficult to open up in Photoshop. Like if we wanted to open, let's just pull it back in here. Sometimes these just refuse to open. Yeah, this document may be damaged, the file may be truncated or incomplete. Continue. So you just hit OK and see what happens. That's what happened. So after we play around with Audacity, I'll show you how to get around this. And it's by taking a screenshot of the image in preview, because we've essentially distorted the image's data, right? So just because we see the glitch effect in preview, that's just how preview's rendering that, right? The distortion. It doesn't mean that that's going to be rendered the same way in Photoshop, and that's why we have a completely different effect in Photoshop. Photoshop does not want to attempt to read what just happened to this poor image. So a way to get around that is just by screenshotting, unfortunately. So you will lose a little bit of quality there, but I think if you're going to make this into something bigger, like a GIF, like we are, it doesn't really matter. So I wouldn't be too worried about that there. So now we're going to be playing with Audacity, which is a free audio editing software. we're going to go up here to File, Import, Raw Data. Once you've selected that, navigate to the TIFF file that we worked on earlier. This one here. Open that up. So when you're importing the raw data, you want to make sure the encoding is EULA and the byte order is big endian. And one channel is fine. The rest should be good here. So once you have that set, hit import. Now this is really cool. So see these sound waves? This is all the data in that same image we were just working on, except the TIFF version of it. So there's quite a bit more. There would be, if we like open this up in the text editor, it would be a lot more text. But this is great because it's allowed us to kind of create these waves that we can now do really cool things to, like echo, fades, distortions. We can do any of these effects for audio effects, like low pass filter, noise gate, normalizer, equalizer that you would like work on for like music or podcasts. You can apply it directly to a photograph and it's going to make some really, really cool effects. I'm always really excited about using Audacity for this. So before we do anything to this file, I want to yet again mention that up here, this is the header. You can actually see where the header is. So see this block? It's like almost like a little rectangle here before it starts getting into these waves. That's the header, so we should not touch that. And down here, the footer is less visible, but we should still kind of stay away maybe from this area here. And that should be safe. Okay. To start, I think I want to start off here. So we can select the portion we want to edit by just clicking on it and dragging your mouse along and do effect. Let's do a fade in. Yeah, I like starting with a fade in. So see what that did? You can see it already. You can kind of see the changes happening quite quickly. Fade in. Let's do a fade out. So maybe let's go like here, come down there, effect, fade out. Same sort of thing. It fades it right out there like a triangle. And we're going to file, export, export as audio. And in here, we're going to do .jpeg and change that to 1. Other uncompressed files is good to save as type. Header raw, encoding EULA, that's perfect. So once that matches your screen there, hit save. So it's going to give you a warning each time you do this and just hit yes. You don't need to add anything like artist or track title. That's music specific. I mean, if you wanted to, you could, but I'm skipping this. We'll just open that up. And here's our result. So remember how earlier we were looking at the photo I had of my hand and some flowers, and I mentioned it kind of looked like a light leak, like on a negative. We have a similar effect here because that was done using the fade in and out. So we can actually zoom in and just kind of check out what's been done here. And you'll notice that there's these strange little dots of pixels of green and red, and also here. So the image is fragmented in random spots. Unlike text editor, where I feel it's very linear and very repetitive, Audacity tends to do different things and is a bit more unreliable in terms of where you think it's going to glitch. I think that's interesting there too. But we're going to do a bit more. So I'll close that. What I really want to do is try and get into the middle here and try to get an umbrella. I'm assuming the umbrellas are probably within these waves here. Effect, let's do something like an echo. Echo is one of my personal favorites. Delay time 5 seconds, decay factor 10. This doesn't really mean too much. We'll just hit OK. It's done something there for sure. Let's see what that's done. It's the same thing. Export, export audio. We'll do number 2, since this is our second pass. All right. Wow. So it's it looks like it's inverted the umbrella there, but what it's done is it's taken that yellow one and echoed it to the bottom right there. That's pretty neat. Cool. Let's keep going. Maybe let's take this one right here and we'll echo that. Effect. Echo. Boom. There we go. Let's do something interesting here. Let's go over here and let's do effect. What happens if we do, what's a sliding stretch? Let's try that. That's going to be a lot, I think. If it's taking time like that, it either means it's doing something really cool or it's going to break the file. But we'll find out. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. Let's do a save and check to see that we didn't break this. Okay, export audio again. Number 3, JPEG. Okay. Wow, I love the look of that. I think that's super neat. It looks like it took all like the blacks of the image, the shadows, and just inserted this like blue graininess all over the shadows there. And it's completely, this doesn't even look like a photograph anymore. Like it looks like something you'd make in Illustrator and then like with a purposeful attempt at like glitch art aesthetic, if that makes sense. I want to keep going. I want to see how much is too much with this. You know, I would be happy leaving it here, but I think for the purpose of playing with Audacity and kind of showing you how great it is at making glitch art, I think we're going to take it just a bit further. Okay, let's do something in the middle here. Let's just select a lot of that. And let's do effect. What else sounds cool? A wah-wah. Let's try that. Okay. Ooh, we've applied that twice. That might be too much. But let's see what that's done. I think we're on number 4. Yes. Let's try that. Oh dear. Oh. So Wawa looks like it does some really weird ripples. I love that. Okay. That's really neat. Oh, that's awesome. I don't want to do anything else to it. I feel like that even might be a little bit too much, depending on where you aesthetically think you want your glitch art to be. I think that's really neat though. I haven't played with the wah-wah effect before. I had no idea it did that, but I might just do that a bit more now. Cool, that looks awesome. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to basically save our work that we've done in a readable format, like a JPEG, a TIFF, a PNG, even a GIF. I'm going to be making GIFs for mine just because I think it's kind of fun. So what I've done is I've just taken screenshots. So just hit, so that's a transparent layer. Then I'll go ahead and I will select all and copy this one and I'll paste it. So it makes another layer there. So same thing, new layer. This one I just copied, we can close that one. Control Alt to select all, Control C to copy, bring it there, and just keep doing this until you get all of them. Perfect. And I'm missing the base layer, actually. So we'll go back to text editor, our 0. So I'm going to make a new layer, layer 4. But because this is our first layer, I'll go ahead and move it to the bottom. Bring that down there. It's going to be tiny, but we can stretch it out. There we go. That looks something like that. Should be, yeah. It's hiding there. Cool. Okay. This is a smart object. I'm just going to rasterize it. So now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to get rid of all this that we don't need around it. So we'll do that by selecting this tool here, and we're just going to just select around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Great. So now we'll just do image and crop. Boom. So now you have all your layers here. And I'm just going to go in and check that everything, yes, that's what I saw. So if it has a bit of like a border there and you can see the transparency, just bring it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. Although if you wanted to align it perfectly, what you could do is just put this one on top of layer 0. Move the opacity a bit down. And that way you can just try and move it so that it is perfectly aligned. See, I just moved it down. This umbrella is going to align with the umbrella down below it. And that should give you better alignment there. That looks better already. Perfect. Now we're going to bring that back down. That one's our base layer. So for the purpose of organizing, I'm also going to rename these to match their file names when we were editing them and creating them earlier. You don't have to do this, but I think it just offers a bit more clarity. Awesome. So now that we have all the layers we need, we're going to open up the timeline. And you can do that by going into Window, Timeline. This will open it up here for you. We're going to hit Create Frame Animation. So to import these layers here into the timeline, we'll hit this little button here and then go to Make Frames from Layers. And so what that's done now is it's dragged these layers here and it's imported them into the timeline. But there's a transparent layer here. So we're going to fill that up, we're going to create a new layer. And just make it black. And we're going to make it black because the background's pretty dark anyways. So it'll act as a really great blending layer in the animation to kind of loop the GIF better. So I'm just going to hit Control Delete, and what that does, it selects little the black paint there, and it'll just apply it to the whole frame. So if we play this as it is right now, it goes very fast, and it's kind of jarring. If you like it like this, that's totally fine. But what I like to do is stop it and go into each animation here, and there's this little button that looks like an asteroid. You click that, and it says Tweens Animation Frames. So what that does, it just offers, it creates keyframes that offers better transition between your layers. It'll just look a lot smoother. So it selects 5 for you. That's usually fine. So I'll hit OK. Let's try that. So it's smoothed out the beginning there, but I might go in even further and then just also keep doing it for like all the layers you've added. Just keep going. And there again. Maybe at the end here too, just for a better loop. So that's a lot slower. I think I like that a bit better, but of course you can play around with it. This is the simplest way to make a GIF in Photoshop, and probably the simplest way to do it with your glitch art. I'm sure if you wanted to, and if you had the knowledge to do it in like Premiere or like an animation software, you could probably make it look a lot cooler. But I think this is just the simplest way to import it. And to save it, File, Save As. We'll go to GIF. We'll rename it Text Editor. GIF. It'll give you some settings here to select. I usually just hit OK. I mean, I think what matters most to me is that it's in color. Sometimes these things pop up and it's like in black and white for some reason. Hit OK. That's saving there. Now you can open it up. And there's your glitch art. And it looks a lot better now that it's, you know, you can actually upload this right to Twitter if you wanted to. You could upload it right to Facebook online. You could tokenize it if you wanted to. So now it's totally readable. We've taken a photograph, we've corrupted it, we've created a GIF, a readable format back from it. So there you go. Let's do it with the Audacity one and see how that looks. So we'll do the same thing here. Close this, close that. We don't need to save this. I'll go back into my Audacity folder. I made one just for screenshots, so we'll import those. There they are. Let's hide the timeline for now. It takes up a little bit too much space for my liking at the bottom. There we go. I'll go ahead and introduce the unedited version first. Ooh, it's a TIFF, it might be big, but let's hope for the best. It's pretty small. There we go. Let's aim it for there, and then we can adjust it after. And remove that smart layer by rasterizing it. We don't need a smart layer. What a smart layer really does in Photoshop is if you resize it over and over again, it keeps all the information. It doesn't flatten it so that if you size it smaller and if you want to size it bigger all of a sudden, you can do that. It keeps that information to then size it bigger if you wanted to, instead of like losing information by sizing it really small and then you try to like size it bigger and it's all pixely. It's a great tool Photoshop implemented like a few years ago and I'm in love with it. But okay. Layer, new layer. This one, select, copy, paste it in there. New layer. Close that. Again, copy that one. Paste that. Close this. So again, just copying all those layers back into one document so they can stack. Great. So doing the same thing again, I'll just zoom in a little bit, selecting the image. It's a bit too much. There we go. And image crop. And just checking to make sure that everything is looking like it's supposed to. Like this one, for example, at the bottom. You can get rid of those little borders. There we go. Cool. This one's going to be fun to see as a GIF. All right, so again, just like I did last time, window, timeline, create frame animation, go here, make frames from layers. Awesome. Give it a play. That one's really fast. See, if you like the fast look, you can totally just save it like this. I'm going ahead and just putting some other frames in there. Maybe let's do 3 instead of 5. So we have that transparency happening there again. So what we're going to do is just creating a layer of black. There we go. That'll fix that. That one, do that again. 3. 3 more frames. Three more. And 3 more. Okay, let's see how that looks. I do like that a lot better. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Let's save. So file, save as, go down to GIF. This is the Audacity one. Give that a second to save there. Let's open that up. Cool. I really like that one. Oh, that one's super. All right. Well, see this one, I kind of did the same effect there. Let's put them together. Let's just see how that looks there. So that's pretty much it. There's just so many different ways to do it. Many different ways than what I've just shown. This is just how I like to create glitch art from my photographs and the results that I like to see. I think this process is the one that works best for me. There's many different ways to do what we just did. And just have fun with it. Yeah. Try taking a photo from like your phone versus a camera, a DSLR camera, and just seeing kind of what different results you get. Yeah, feel free to play around with the different sound effects on Audacity and just see what they do. I mean, even putting these side by side, it's interesting to see that Audacity gives you, I think, a bit more randomness, and it's a bit less linear is what I kind of keep going back to when comparing it to the text editor version, where it's consistent lines and it's a bit more organized in the way that it corrupts the data. So I hope you learned something today. I definitely had fun doing this. It's really fun to revisit glitch art every now and then. And yeah, I'm so excited to see what else happens during ETH Denver and during the Makerspace and our project and seeing everyone else's presentations. And I hope you enjoyed this workshop today. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them there should be a little like chat box. Feel free to just put them in there, or reach out to me. I'm on Twitter at Claude DSLR, like a camera, haha. Or you can just search my name on Twitter. You can feel free to send me any questions there. Also, you can totally tweet Ephimera and ask us any questions there if you like. Ephimera is a lens-based digital art marketplace, so we have lots of photography on there, lots of video work on there, and you might even see some glitch art if you want to try and apply with your new portfolio of glitch art. So yeah, I'm really excited to see the work that comes out of this workshop, and I hope it inspired you today. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're back.
That was really good. And we have a series of questions, a lot of feedback from the community. So I think we dropped a few of them and showed some of them here on the screen. But if you want me, I can revisit and ask you directly. How do you want to go about it?
I have a few here in our chat. I'll just read them and then address them there, I think. But if any more pop in, just let me know. I know we're streaming this on multiple platforms, so it's kind of difficult to see where they all are, but we'll try to get to them. All right, so what if you paste a chunk of another image into this one? So I've done that before, and what has happened is where I've pasted the data from another image into the one I'm currently editing, any information below that just goes black. Like it just unreadable, it doesn't look too great. So I tend to avoid that. There might be a way to get that to work. I would love, in theory, to see that different image be inserted directly into the one you're editing, but I haven't figured that out myself yet. So if anyone wants to try it, by all means, go ahead. So in Audacity, this can play. Yes, so one thing I didn't do was play the sound from the images. So I think I want to share my screen and actually show you and give a listen as to what that sounds like. And warning to headphone users, it is a bit jarring. It just sounds like static, but we might as well give it a listen because I do think it's really, really cool. And if you wanted to incorporate any video work at all, I think it's great audio to gather from. So I'm just going to try sharing my screen here.
Yes, there's actually someone here saying that they tried it and that they got that glitchy sound, like noisy sound.
Yeah, it is really cool, but it is quite jarring. So again, if you have headphones in, you might want to lower the volume a bit for this part.
People are trying it already.
Okay. I'm going to share my audio. Can you see my screen there?
Let's share it. Oh, no, that's mine.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia.
Maybe try removing your old, the video that you were sharing.
Yep.
There you go. So we see your screen where you are on StreamYard.
Okay, let's see. Let's try the stop share. I'm going to share just the application. Is that working?
Yep.
Okay, so if I hit play, let me know if you can hear the audio here.
No, it's not going through.
Let's try one more time. I think what I need to do is make sure that the audio is being shared. Okay. Share audio, application window.
I don't think we hear the sound, not on my end.
Did you hear that, Jessica?
No, I don't hear it.
Well, I can try to describe what it sounds like.
Okay.
It sounds like like a microwave and some static and like a television that has no signal. It's really quite cool. And actually, if you wanted to just hear a little bit of it yourself, you can just open up any image you have on your computer. And as long as you have Audacity installed, you can just import it like I showed you in the beginning of the workshop and just hit play. And you'll know exactly what I mean when I say like a microwave, a television with static. It's a lot of information there. Sorry, I can't play it here, but it definitely sounds really, really cool. So let's see what other questions we have here. Question, how about some noise suppression? I haven't used that effect in Audacity yet, but what I can guess would happen would be some kind of minimization of the image. So maybe suppressing some noise in the image or doing something to the pixels to make them appear smaller or maybe more flat. And it's really cool because in Audacity, you have a little bit of description when it comes to the effects that you want to use, and it often reflects in the image. So it's really cool to just play around with it and just see what you can do there. Yeah. Okay, so I think, let's see if I had written down anything while it was coming in. I think that might be it. So I'm going to be hanging around in the virtual castle after this. But before we leave, we have a very, very important thing to do, and that is announce the list.
For another question.
Oh, yes.
So someone is saying here, what does it say? Where was it? If you can apply Gaussian filters to that.
If that filter is in Audacity, then for sure you can apply it. I can almost guarantee that any effect in Audacity will have some kind of effect in the data and definitely in the image when you go to open it. So if it's like a Gaussian blur, that's something I've seen in Photoshop before. It might blur parts of the image, much like Echo went ahead and repeated some of the information over and over again, and we saw that in the umbrella. Gaussian might blur it out completely. So definitely play around with it. And if you want to tweet me what it looks like, definitely do so.
Okay, people are curious. Okay, I'll let you move on with your big announcement.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to share my screen one more time. All right, is my screen shared? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we have our shortlist to announce from the New World contest. This is our first contest as Ephimera, as a digital art marketplace platform. And we have some really, really cool works to share with you. So here we go. Oh, we've even got an effect here. All right, so we have this submission here by Old Dictionary and J. Lindsay Film. This was from Twitter. We have this GIF work by Lipti and Mladen Pojeg. This is also a Twitter submission. We couldn't get the GIF to actually play in PowerPoint, so if you do want to see it animate, feel free to go to Lipti's Twitter. We have this 3D photograph work by Rudolf Bujerman and Gemini Rising. And this work as well by Emilo.art and Bix Photography and Video. We have this work by J. Merlot Photo and Olga Art About. This is an Instagram submission. We have this photo manipulation by Zuryadin and Frank X Town. And this photo manipulation portrait by Ini Ariantini and Rich Carib, an Instagram submission as well. And we have this photo here by Instagram Photography and Nerdy Ginger 66. And this work by Claire Silver AI Art and James Fox Photography. Finally, I believe this is the last one, Vittoria Zeden and In Lens Veritas. All right, so that is our short list. So we will be announcing the winners on the 11th of February in the Ephimera magazine. That is our blog. And thank you so much to everyone who submitted to this contest. We received an influx of submissions and they were all really, really amazing. And thank you so much for our friends at Urban Street Photo Gallery on Instagram for shouting us out and spreading the word about this contest. Thank you so much. You guys are brilliant. And yeah, stay tuned. Check out all these amazing works that were just shortlisted. They're really, really talented people in the space. And we can't wait to announce the winners on the 11th. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning into this workshop today and for checking out Ephimera. And I'll be hanging out in the virtual castle. So if you have any more questions or if you just want to chat about photography, I'd love that. That'd be so awesome. Highlight of my night. So thank you for tuning in.